Well, who had war with Iran on your bingo card?
Always.
I certainly did
definitely.
here at Redacted. If you've been watching this show for any length of time, you know that they're pushing us towards war with Iran. This is the last, of course, of the major countries that Benjamin Netanyahu wants the United States to invade and destroy. We did their bidding on Libya, of course. We did it on Iraq. Syria has now fallen thanks to the CIA-backed overthrow of that government. So Iran is next, of course. All the king's men, all the king's horses are aligning right now, ready to launch a war against Iran, the likes of which would be catastrophic for the United States of America and the Middle East. Remember, of course, that there are over 60,000 Americans sitting ducks right now in the Middle East. Like, if maybe you love Israel, that's great. Do you care about America? Do you care about the 60,000 men and women who are on the United States Armed Forces who are sitting there right now, not in like massive stronghold military bases with massive bunkers and full infrastructure? No, many of these are outposts that would be destroyed if we launch a preemptive attack against Iran. Sitting ducks, cannon fodder, and the Biden administration has admitted as much on the record, on television. President Biden specifically said that it's just a matter of time before they get attacked. Well, then get them the hell out of there. Instead, you're letting them sit there as cannon fodder, which these warmongers like to do, of course. So we're getting dangerously close to a war with Iran right now. The legacy media, the neocons in Washington, are fast-tracking this before President Trump takes office, trying to do Israel's bidding once again. As we warned you for months, this, of course, was the plan all along. You'd have to be a moron not to have seen this coming. And now, overnight, the IDF sees chances for strikes on Iran's nuke sites after knocking out Syrian air defenses. And, the IDF is now doubling down on this position. So these are soft targets now. We better move into Iran now that Syria is out of the picture. So the CIA took Syria off the table, and the Times of Israel reports that the IDF is ready to start bombing Iran, of course. And now Canadian warmongers, like this is spread internationally now among this warmongering cabal, are getting ready to push us towards a war with Iran. Pierre Poilievre, I guess you could call him a neoconservative in Canada, because the guy openly supports additional weapons and munition and money, of course, to Ukraine, the most corrupt government in Europe, is now saying, absolutely, we should double down. And he wants to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. Like, this would be a big Christmas gift, or I guess a big Hanukkah gift to Israel. Like, we're going to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities? Listen to him.
Yesterday you said that you endorse Israel proactively defending itself by hitting Iran's nuclear sites, which is something that President Joe Biden does not endorse. Do you not feel like this could lead to a likelihood of an all-out conventional war between Iran and Israel? And do you not agree with Joe Biden and his assessment?
I think the idea of allowing a genocidal, theocratic, unstable dictatorship that is desperate to avoid being overthrown by its own people to develop nuclear weapons is about the most dangerous and irresponsible thing that the world could ever allow. And if Israel were to stop that genocidal, theocratic, unstable government from acquiring nuclear weapons, it would be a gift by the Jewish state to humanity.
What?
Yeah,
he's talking
gift.
about the Ayatollah?
Yeah, he's talking about Iran.
I thought he was talking about Israel in the beginning. Because it sounded an awful lot like that description.
When did Canadian exceptionalism become a thing?
It's amazing. So there you go. Again, these neocons are popping up in Canada as well. Pierre Poilievre, proving how dumb the DC media elite are, listening to the legacy media, which would love nothing more than for Trump to start a war with Iran as well. A few weeks ago, President Trump was asked about Iran. Would he intervene in Iran? He said, no, the Iranian people should have a say in their own government. We should stay out of it. Those were his words a few weeks ago. And listen to Trump yesterday take on the legacy media, which, again, is all aligning themselves now with, you guys going to start attacking Iran? When are you guys going to start attacking Iran? Listen.
Against Iran's nuclear facilities?
Well, I can't tell you that. It's a wonderful question, but how can am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine if I said yes or no? You'd say, That was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that? Say it.
Would you be in support of Israeli strikes on Iran's?
How could I tell you?
The media just desperately want. You do want to bomb Iran, right? You want to do it preemptively?
Which war are we going to next, sir?
You want to do this?
Joe Biden's given us a lot. Which ones are we going to cover under you? We got to have something to do.
So Trump is Trump going to bomb Iran? Well, the Wall Street Journal sure hopes so. So they're reporting today that the Trump team is preparing for possible attacks on Iran's nuclear capabilities. This, of course, over the past few days. Trump team weighs options, including airstrikes, to stop Iran's nuclear program.
Let me guess. A source familiar says.
Oh, no, anonymous sources.
Right. Yeah, a familiar source says.
So this is how they do it, right? These anonymous sources, whatever, they put these stories out there. They drop them in the New York Times. They drop them in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. Yeah, sources familiar with Trump's thinking.
Who was that? Me.
And
that was me who wrote
that. And they normalize this stuff. Like, yeah, this is like perfectly, yeah, we're going to normalize it. Attack. So they put it all over the mainstream media, make it normal. And then, of course, they tie it. We'll get to the drone part of this piece in a second here. But, these are, Iranian drones. There's motherships off the coast. And did Iran launch a dirty bomb inside the United States? Are they trying to assassinate President Trump? Like Roger Stone pointed out, don't fall for it, that Iran was trying to assassinate President Trump. Don't fall for the false flags. They desperately want, they want to align like conservatives and conservative media and everyone around the idea that we need to go and preemptively attack Iran. They want World War III desperately. They really, really do. I sure hope not. But this is the case here. And this is what Caitlin Johnstone writes today. She said, Trump and Israel can't wait to start bombing Iran. She says Israeli media reports that the IDF now sees airstrikes on Iran as much easier to execute now that its pilots don't have to worry about the Syrian air defenses along the way. While the Wall Street Journal reports that the Trump team is weighing its options for airstrikes on Iran to prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon, which there's no evidence Iran currently is trying to do.
Which the Obama administration spent a decade trying to prove and sanctioned them into poverty and sickness. But cool, we know it now based on what? What do we know now that we didn't know when Obama was trying to,
Where's the evidence?
Launch the world's first cyber weapon when Obama did that?
No, you should just trust what you should just trust what the CIA is telling us about Iran. Like, don't do any sort of independent studies on this. Don't have any third-party international body going to Iran to confirm or deny this. Just listen to what the CIA and the deep state and these warmonger neocons in Washington, D.C. want you to believe. Don't do any independent thinking.
I read the book. The guy who designed the sanctions in the book called The Art of Sanction, demonic book, the guy who designed the sanctions that Obama put on Iran on no proof, on total hearsay. He didn't even know. He said probably they had it. This is why we had to do it, and this is why it worked. It's an awful book. Look it up on Amazon.
The Art of Sanctions.
The Art of Sanctions.
There is zero evidence that Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. Zero. Even the United States' own Defense Department, the Pentagon, says there's no evidence of this. Okay, maybe the Pentagon's lying because, maybe that's what they do. So why would they lie to us about this? Normally, they would come out on the opposite side of this and say, yeah, we have total evidence that this is happening. So too did recently the head of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi. The IAEA said that Iran has been working with them satisfactorily. This is the International Atomic Energy Agency speaking about Iran, about these recent inspections, and they saw no evidence that they're moving towards a nuclear weapon. Listen.
Have, for example, the enrichment activities up to 60% been in technical detail, or have you been discussing this with heads of state you have been meeting regarding that it is hardly to explain an enrichment program to this extent with a non-military enrichment program? Have they been able to give you an explanation for that?
Well, in fact, they don't need to give me an explanation of why they enrich at 60%. What we need to ensure is that we have the necessary ability to inspect the activities there. They enriched at the levels that they declare. There are certain parameters, as you know, between an inspected state and the IAEA. They tell us this is what we are going to do, and then we perform the necessary inspections. So in that regard, in terms of motivations and reasons, which I believe is a little bit behind your question, we don't discuss that. For us, what is important, the only thing that matters is that we are able to inspect, that we are able to account for every gram of enriched material that is there. And this is the spirit of the exchanges, and we have been working satisfactorily in that regard. There have been other types of issues, and as you know, but they are not directly related to this particular issue.
Okay, but then yesterday something changed all of a sudden. So what happened all of a sudden? Like, why now are they changing their tune on this? Very interesting. So now Grossi suddenly flipped his tune in the past 24 hours. Rafael Grossi tells the Italian ANSA news agency that Iran is moving quickly to obtain a nuclear device, is enriching uranium to near military grade. Okay. And International Atomic Energy Agency Rafael Grossi said the nuclear deal with Iran is no longer relevant and that Iran is enriching uranium to a military grade, is rapidly nearing the position of a nuclear state. Grossi spoke during a visit to the Italian Foreign Ministry on Monday. What changed?
But has he been there? Because they've
no evidence he's been there.
They've been signaling for the last 6 months that they're trying to speak with Iran, that they're arranging more visits there. The clip we just showed you was from early in 2023 when they said we're on it. And if you follow the IAEA's own news site, they tell you about the discussions that they're having. So based on what evidence? It's just what we're saying. There's a comment here. Mr. Protractor said that Redacted is the Chicken Little of internet news. We're telling you that we don't fall for false flags. We're telling you we don't want a war with Iran based on false flags after we learned our lesson from the war in Iraq about no weapons of mass destruction. So I think we're kind of the opposite of Chicken Little. Maybe you don't know that lore.
No, we're literally telling you the sky is not falling. We're literally telling you, no, don't go to war. We're literally telling you the opposite of this. Don't fall for these false flags where they're trying to get us into war. How many false flags do you need to wake you people up? I mean, the USS Maine, for crying out loud, we went to war, right? The Spanish-American War.
Yugoslavia.
The Gulf of Tonkin.
Right.
Why did we go to Vietnam? 9/11, for crying out loud. How many more pieces of evidence and false flags do you need? What we're doing is warning you against this, to stop it. We are an anti-war show here on Redacted. We are not a pro-war, warmongering neocon show.
We want to see the evidence. We want to see the evidence. We don't want anonymous sources saying maybe this country is nuclear, so we're going to preemptively strike. We're done with that. Their burden of proof is on the neocons now. They must show it to us. And then maybe if we see proof, we'll say something different. But at this point, we're done with words and false reports.
So let's go back to Grossi, because he made those comments and then Iran fired back. So I want to give you the Iranian side of this. So they fired back at this against Grossi. He says, you're not a politician, and slammed them for this unprofessional remarks on the nuclear program, says there's no truth to it. So I don't know. You don't have to believe Iran. You don't have to believe Grossi. It doesn't really matter. The point is you can see all of the pieces of what is happening. And by the way, Israel has a nuclear program that they lie about. They've lied about it since the 1960s. JFK was told about the nuclear program by Eisenhower, and they lied to JFK's face. They weren't allowed to have nuclear weapons, and they developed them anyway. Israel did. So you're not allowed to talk about it. It's off limits. Even Israelis, if you talk to them about it, they're like, whoosh, we can't talk about it. It's like you're not allowed to mention it. Everyone in the world knows that, Alex Jones talks about it all the time. Israel has nuclear weapons. They pretend that they don't, but they do.
They also have a whistleblower in political prison for saying such. Look up the story of Mordecai Vanunu and then go kiss your
Vanunu. So don't fall. So don't, guys. You guys are smart here. Don't fall for this crap. Please don't fall for this stuff. All of these people, the legacy media, they're lining up right now to try to get us into war before Trump takes office. You even have this whole drone story right now. You have Congressman Jeff Van Drew this past week talking about the drones as an Iranian mothership out there. And these are all Iranian drones. And the other piece of this, of course, is that there's missing nuclear material. And there could be a dirty bomb that Iran has let loose in New Jersey. And that's why all these drones are searching for an Iranian dirty bomb right now. Watch.
High-level sources are telling him these drones may have come from.
Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down.
Yeah, it's Iran, of course. So all those drones that you're saying, it's Iran. Or it's drones looking for the dirty bomb that Iran has let loose on the east coast of the United States. So we should just go bomb Iran. And the 60,000 Americans who are in the Middle East, you guys are fine. Nothing will happen to you. There won't be any sort of retaliation. There won't be any attacks on your bases. So we'll be watching this very, very closely.
All right. Well, let's talk about the spending bill, because the United States government is about to hit a debt ceiling on December 20th. That date's important, so keep it in mind. That's this weekend. Now, a handful of House Republicans are saying absolutely not. We will not pass this proposed spending package because it's full of crap. That's exactly what it is. It is supposed to fund the government through March 14th, but lawmakers are debating this because the government, again, is trying to shove a bunch of laws in a spending bill, a bunch of new spending in an emergency spending bill, and we can see it. Guess what? We can read. I guess they shouldn't have taught us that. Here's the bill. If you have time just before Christmas to read 1,500 plus pages, House Speaker Mike Johnson, the robot, has put this bill forward, and it's full of absolute nonsense that would increase the U.S. debt limit, but also add more to the grocery cart, much like when I take my middle schooler to Target. And then we get home and I said, where'd this lip gloss come from? Oh, you said, she says. How'd that get in there? Well, it has a lot more than just lip gloss, though. Does she do that to you, too? You're laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
I'm like, how'd this extra bag of chips get in here?
What's this? What's this new toner? She's 12. She doesn't need a toner. So, yeah, that's basically what this bill is. It's like taking your middle schooler to Target and then getting all kinds of stuff you did not intend to get. So here's some kinds of that so-called lip gloss. Let's see. Non-emergency payments, including $130 billion to renew the farm bill, $100 billion in disaster relief. Where does that go? Certainly not to North Carolina, certainly not to people that need it, but at least the agency will get it, if not the people. $10 billion in stimulus for farmers, $8 billion to replace the Francis Scott Key Bridge. There's money for biolabs in this bill. Yes, there absolutely is. You might have seen libs of TikTok post about this. And in fact, it's true. Take this. Section 629 has 52 million. Maybe it's billion. I didn't write it. That's possibly a typo on my behalf. Read it for yourself. For biocontainment laboratories, because 50 million seems too small for 12 biocontainment laboratories. So check that. Fact check me on that. The bill also establishes a commission to stop companies from boycotting Israel. What the heck is this doing in a spending package? It says that a report must be compiled to make sure that no U.S. companies are boycotting Israel in accordance with the Anti-Boycott Act of 2018. But guess what? That's not law. The Anti-Boycott Act of 2018 was, in fact, never passed. Some states have anti-boycott Israel laws on their books, but anti-boycott Israel federal law never passed Congress, despite 2 tries at it. So why is that in a spending bill that you don't decide if you don't want to support Israel? There's also language in there about licensing and enforcement. What the heck does that mean? Like, if you are a construction company and you don't maybe want to buy something from Israel, they can pull your licenses or put some kind of local enforcement on you. I don't like that. You're supposed to be able to boycott whoever the heck you want in a free country, right?
Right.
Starbucks, Hobby Lobby, Russia, but not Israel. Okay. So
Bud
why
Light.
Is that there?
It's okay to, Bud Light.
Bud Light,
yeah.
Chick-fil-A, whatever the heck you want. You're supposed to be able to boycott sex if you're a liberal and you don't like the Trump administration, but you can't boycott Israel. Or like Philip said at the beginning of the show, maybe sex with people from Israel. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. So far, a growing list of Republicans have said they will not vote for this. But Speaker Johnson's saying, look, it's the last time I'm going to ask you for this. Just one more time. We'll cut spending when Republicans can control Congress. I'm not going to even play you this clip because he's lame, but you can see it for yourself here on his X post. So, right. Representative Thomas Massie says this bill's full of all kinds of foreign aid, and it is essentially like watering the neighbor's yard while your house is on fire. Now, in September, when this deadline was assigned, Massie predicted exactly what would happen exactly as it is happening. So I'm going to play you this 3-minute clip and recall he said this in September, and we're here. This is it. This is our reality watch.
I also predicted this would fall right before Christmas, and I believe this does fall on December 20th. Now, why have we picked December 20th? Because it's the same reason we always have December 20th. Everybody up here is human. There are no AIs or robots in Congress. And when you get to December 20th, you're 5 days from Christmas. You're 4 days from Christmas Eve, and you desperately want to be there with your family. So this is when the leadership here has the maximum influence. And again, I'm talking to the Democrats and the Republicans because you've seen it on the Democrat side of the aisle. They love to pick the week before Christmas for this showdown because you can smell the jet fuel fumes over at DCA. It smells like Christmas, that you're going to get to go home and open presents. I've been in HC5 when literally the Speaker of the House, not the Speaker we have now, walks in and says, if you vote for this, you can go home and unwrap presents with your kids. And if you don't vote for this, you're going to spend Christmas here with Nancy Pelosi. And then the chant starts, vote, 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 vote. Literally, people get enthusiastic to vote for something that they haven't read. So let me predict what we're not going to do on December 20th before I take a guess at what we're going to do. What we're not going to do, we're not going to do 12 separate bills. We are not going to spend this time. We've got a few months between now and December 20th. We could go back to working on appropriations bills. We are not going to do this. This sucker, whatever happens on December 20th, whether it's another CR to kick the can down the road for 3 more months, or whether it's an omnibus that funds all of government with one bill, it's going to be written behind closed doors, and every lobbyist in this town is going to try to attach their little thing to this bill. This train is leaving the station.
That's exactly what happened. All kinds of lobbyist goodies under this tree in this bill. So he nailed it. Well, but go ahead, please.
Well, I was just going to say, and it's funny, he said the Speaker usually runs this out, and he said, not this Speaker, speaking of Johnson, and then he's the one that ended up doing it.
Yeah, right. So he's been there before. This is a stop me if you think you've heard this one before line. But he is holding the line. He says he will vote against it. And so are at least at this, the last I counted, 8 other Republicans in the House. And so is his fellow statesman, Rand Paul. Rand Paul says that he will, now this is hearsay, he hasn't said it. As far as I've seen, this is rumor at this point, says that he will delay the passage of the bill if it clears the House. If is a big if here, potentially leading to a government shutdown if not passed by Friday. So someone has got to break this cycle. We just can't keep doing this every 6 months and then putting more lip gloss in the cart, if you know what I mean. Ava. Right. Of course, Republicans don't have to pass this. They're coming into full power in all 3 chambers of all 3 legislative bodies. So they could say, no, we're not going to do this. And then when we get into power, we're going to put a more sensible bill in. Will they do that? What do you think? So let us know. Also, I have one more point of we were talking about the last time that Rafael Grossi had traveled to Iran. That was in November of this year. So he did, in fact, go since that last meeting. I just want to make that clear so that we don't misreport that.
Great. Yeah, let us know. Do you guys think, first of all, do you guys agree with a government shutdown? Would you guys be okay with a government shutdown? Would you be fine for them to close the doors on a lot of this garbage? I know there's, so many members of the federal government who, of course, would be affected by this. There are people, in all different branches of the military that are not like primary So like the NOAA Corps and that sort of thing that would be affected by this if there's a government shutdown. I think like the Forest Service and that would be affected by this, right? They wouldn't get paychecks. So
no, it's the wrong people that get punished. Absolutely, right. And they're being held hostage by the wrong people who have their hands out.
Yeah.
And so you have to think, if you're one of these lobbyists who shoved your stuff in this bill, you are hurting regular American people it's a tax on all of us. Absolutely it is. And it's new legislation that's not passed by Congress through the normal legislative process. And you're holding us all up for your wish list on social justice fallacies.
Well, at least they're getting almost $1 trillion for the military-industrial complex and for us to continue sending billions to Ukraine and Israel and all around the world. But the United States, it gets shafted once again. Listen up, guys. If you're suffering from daily aches and pains, please listen closely. Top medical experts have unveiled a natural pain reliever that's changing the way Americans fight pain. It's 100% drug-free Canolidine. Now, I've heard from many of our viewers that have tried Canolidine and they've thanked us because it has changed their life. I've seen the emails. Canolidine is the only solution in the world that optimizes your body's natural painkillers called endorphins, providing full body relief without dangerous pills or known side effects. Again, 100% drug-free. Over 1 million Americans and hundreds of professional athletes, including UFC fighters, have already embraced Canolidine's pain relief power. Best of all, Canolidine is legal worldwide, certified drug-free, and does not cause side effects, grogginess, or any kind of addiction. After 14 years of clinical research, it's been proven safe and effective, backed by thousands of successful use cases from other Americans just like you. So I want you to try it right now for less than $1 per day. This is your opportunity to finally live pain-free. So click the link below to try the only Canolidine product in the world, risk-free for a full 90 days. Here's the URL. It's trycano.com/redacted. Try it now. Head to trycano.com/redacted to try the only Canolidine product in the world, risk-free for a full 90 days. All right. Well, neocon warmonger Liz Cheney is in hot water. The House Republican-led panel is turning up the heat on the former Congresswoman, calling for a federal criminal investigation into alleged witness tampering during her time as vice chair of the corrupt January 6th committee. Now, Cheney is accused of secretly communicating with Cassidy Hutchinson, a key witness, through the Signal app. She was using Signal to do this without Hutchinson's lawyer knowing about it. Direct connection with a witness. Who is Cassidy Hutchinson, you might ask? Well, she's a former aide to Trump's White House, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. She became the star witness and a central figure, of course, in the January 6 hearings after she provided really dramatic testimony that was blown up all over mainstream media about events leading up to and during the Capitol protest.
Can I just point out the beauty of the fact that her dad masterminded the programs that would later spy on all Americans, which was whistleblown by Edward Snowden, who's one of the founders of Signal, who she used to covertly communicate with this whistleblower.
Yeah.
Did anybody else make that connection? It's kind of beautiful, right?
It's karma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's karma. The Cheney karma. Well, sorry
to derail you. Yeah. I couldn't let... What? So she's using Signal for witness tampering?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So among Cassidy Hutchinson's most notable and ridiculous claims was the allegation that Donald Trump leapt over the back seat of a Secret Service vehicle. Because you can definitely picture Donald Trump like leaping, right? And he tried to grab the steering wheel of his presidential vehicle and then physically assaulted a Secret Service agent in order to try and drive back to the Capitol building. You have to take me to the Capitol. I'm jumping across the front seat. I'm going to grab the steering wheel. I'm going to punch out a Secret Service agent. Get me back to the Capitol building. Watch her testimony.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president. Take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel.
Yeah. Like, hey, you can't go there. And Trump jumps over the seat to try to drive over there. It's the dumbest thing ever. Of course, these claims have been since debunked by other witnesses and Secret Service officials. She has no credibility. But here's where things get really interesting. According to a Republican report released on Tuesday, Cheney's actions may have violated several federal laws, specifically 18 U.S.C. 1512. The report states specifically, evidence uncovered by the subcommittee revealed that former Congresswoman Liz Cheney tampered with at least one witness, Cassidy Hutchinson. The secret communication with a witness is improper, they write in their report. Screenshots of the signal messages allegedly exchanged between Cheney and Hutchinson have now been presented as evidence in the report, and we have them here. Take a look at your screen. So here is Liz Cheney. Hi, this is Cassidy Hutchinson. I'm sorry for reaching out this way, but I was hoping to have a private conversation with you soon. Are you willing to? And then Liz Cheney writes back, I'd be happy to. Let me know what time works for you. I'm free all day for a call or in person, whichever you prefer. I really appreciate this. Then there's a phone call. Give me a call when it's good for you. Is now okay? Okay. Can we aim for 1 o'clock? Sure, that works. I'm sorry I missed you. Please call when you have a moment. I'm worried to initiate the call in case you're tied up with something. And it goes on to say, yes, we'll call you shortly. Sorry, I got stuck on another call. And they go back and forth. Can I give you a call tomorrow? Of course, everything okay. Back and forth, back and forth. So interactions with this witness. Republicans are now questioning whether Cheney influenced Hutchinson's under oath testimony, potentially advising her to fabricate or alter parts of her account. And that seems to be separately corroborated now by separate reporting from the Daily Caller, which we'll get to in a second. So if proven true, this could have major legal and political implications for Cheney, who's already faced criticism, of course, for her role on the January 6th committee. Recall that, of course, Liz Cheney went on Good Morning America with Jonathan Karl and talked about how doing exactly what she's accused of doing, witness tampering, would be criminal, and that they should definitely look into that at the Department of Justice if Republicans, if other members were doing that, like on the Trump side, if they were interfering with any kind of witnesses, that should be looked into by the Department of Justice. Watch.
They believe that they can affect the testimony of witnesses before the committee, and it's something we take very seriously. And it's something that people should be aware of. It's a very serious issue, and I would imagine the Department of Justice would be very interested in and would take that very seriously as well.
In fact, Cheney told me that the committee may make a criminal referral to the Justice Department recommending that anybody that attempted to influence witness testimony before the committee be prosecuted for witness tampering.
Oh, and of course, recall just a few days ago, Liz Cheney said...
she warned, reportedly, she's been warning that any lawyer who investigates members of the January 6th committee will be engaging in conduct subject to sanctions. That's the sort of warning she's been putting out in Washington circles, to which Harmeet Dillon, who is tapped by Trump to be the Assistant Attorney General, posted on X, oh, really? Which I read as... this is a gauntlet, and we're about to pick that up, girl, because she will be the Assistant Attorney General. So she's trying to warn people off. How can you sanction the Assistant Attorney General for investigating you? Wouldn't other people have already tried that?
You would think. Donald Trump has thoughts on that. He just posted this at 3 a.m. He posted, Liz Cheney could be in a lot of trouble based on the evidence obtained by the subcommittee, which states that numerous federal laws were likely broken by Liz Cheney, and these violations should be investigated by the FBI. Thank you to Congressman Bill Loudermilk on a job well done. Newsmax by Greg Kelly. But the plot thickens. Because now, Alyssa Farah, of course, she's the current host of The View. There she is. There's Alyssa Farah. You might recognize her from, not just working on The View, but of course, she was a former Trump administration official. She even stepped in for, I think, Kelly McEnany when Kelly McEnany was out for a short time. Anyway, now the Daily Caller is reporting that Farah suggested to the Star January 6 investigation witness Cassidy Hutchinson that she should leak to the media while the investigation was ongoing. These texts were obtained exclusively by the Daily Caller in this new investigation and show this back and forth with Alyssa Farah and Cassidy Hutchinson. I know you're busy, but there's a chance you've touched base with anyone regarding what we talked about Tuesday night. So I reached out to Liz Cheney. She agreed to keep our convo totally confidential. She said she admires you. She could tell you that she wanted to do the right thing from your testimony. Her one concern was so long as you have counsel, she really can't ethically talk to you without him. But she suggests is a follow-up with you, with your lawyer, that she and Dan George possibly can do with other members and Tim. Does that help at all? I mean, I don't even understand that broken English mostly, but I can tell she really wants to work with you and just trying to figure out the right way to do it. I mean, do you think this is actually of interest to her at this point? Like, have they moved beyond it? Oh, it's very much of interest. She basically just wants to structure basically your testimony. I'm adding that word because that's what we're talking about here, in a way that you're comfortable, and wants to make sure it's clear. If you speak to them again, it's them asking, not you, so that you don't get in trouble. So, and the text messages go on. So basically, she wants to like structure your testimony so that when you present it, she's had this interaction with you. She knows when you come before the committee how to do this, and doing this without speaking to your lawyer. So basically, Farah here is confirming that she's been speaking to her without her lawyer, without her legal counsel.
Yeah.
The development raises serious questions, of course, about the integrity of the witnesses, about Liz Cheney, and of course, we now know the corrupt January 6th committee. This just,
let's do the 9/11 Commission next while we're at it.
Yeah.
Let's do all of it. Okay. Amazing. Okay, well, Disney's Pixar has pulled another transgender storyline from one of its shows for children. So during the Biden years.
So the anti-woke movement is winning.
It seems. It would seem. I don't love this, like, go woke, go broke. I think it's a simplistic term, but it does seem as though Disney's getting the picture that you're not the parents. We are. We want to talk about this stuff. You don't need to shove it in your programming in order to teach kids to see it the way you do, or you're a leftist artist, or anything of the sort. So this show is called Win or Lose, and it's a show about middle school softball team, and it features the backstory of one player per week. And they were going to put a backstory of a transgender character, and they decided not to. Because that seems very out of fashion now in the coming year 2025. A spokesperson for Disney confirmed this and said this to The Hollywood Reporter. When it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timeline. Way to come around to that respectful view of the family, Disney. But I would like a clarification on what they mean for younger audience, because I myself am very wary of Disney shows for my tweens. So, okay, animated, I'm thinking, what do you think, 10 and under? But let's do that for, I would like to raise that bar just a little bit and lower the sexual content on Disney channels for tweens. That's what I have to say. This comes after Disney had already canceled plans to include a transgender storyline in a show called Moon Girl and the Dinosaur. So way to catch up, Disney.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, I think this is a great sign, right? I think, people, they're finally paying attention. You saw them totally destroy Star Wars.
Yeah.
With their whole, woke plans with that show. Totally destroyed that show.
It's just,
the Acolyte was a total disaster.
It's too young for sexualizing kids. That's just it. Do what you want. Don't tell the kids about it. Like, leave that to us.
And we can't pretend that they're doing this because, they finally realized that. They're doing this because it finally hit their bottom line. Let's be honest.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Like, they're losing money.
Of course.
All it's about.
Oh, yeah, it was a total disaster. Mm-hmm. You're seeing that. No, who wants to go see those movies anymore? There was what about that Snow White movie? That totally bombed, too.
It hasn't come out, Clayton.
It's
it
going
comes out in March.
I predict it will.
Okay. You're looking into the future.
You can really tell I'm plugged into what to
your animated princess or your feature-length princess films.
Yeah, I got a whole calendar on my refrigerator of all the new princess films that are coming out. I can't wait.
It's not just about stopping to put sexualization into characters, but it's also, Disney's put warning signals now on Peter Pan and things like that because
retroactively going back to those early movies.
And so will they just stop that now? Stop the, rewriting of history of old films? That there's a lot to correct, not just not doing these things going forward.
You have to think if Walt Disney were alive today, he would absolutely flip out. I mean, his sort of idealized version of America, and what he had envisioned for America has been totally transformed by these woke idiots who are running the company now.
Yeah.
Anyway. Do you ever have a feeling you're being surveilled and hesitate to share things of interest via text message or email with your friends and loved ones? Well, recently, outspoken parents at a PTA meeting in Catholic Americans have been labeled as domestic terrorists by the FBI. These types of labels can be used to allow the U.S. government to surveil its own citizens and others who live abroad without any legal due process. Fortunately, the founders of Bunker have created an app to uphold people's rights. Bunker is not beholden to any third-party corporation, investor, or government. Bunker deeply believes that privacy is a human right and that everyone on Earth deserves bank-level security. Bunker provides you protection from state and corporate surveillance, as well as cyber criminals. It includes a completely secure and private messenger, a robust password manager, secure cloud storage, and files for your documents. Bunker is built to uphold the rights of people and protect them from cyber crimes. Download Bunker from the App Store or the Google Play Store today. Use the offer code REDACTED to receive your first year for free. All right, let's talk about the Fed, shall we? Because just moments ago, get ready, folks, because the Fed just cut some interest rates once again. And get ready for this, a massive recession hitting in 2025 as the Fed rate cuts hit again today. I like how Zero Hedge writes it. Countdown to 2025 recession has begun. Yes, Trump will be blamed. Next debt step function, $15 trillion in debt to the current baseline. Expect $50 trillion in debt in the next 2 years, thanks to what the Fed just did. So what did the Fed just do today? Well, Jerome Powell and his minions cut its benchmark rate by 25 basis points to 4.25% to between 4.5%, the target range. It also cut its overnight reverse repo facility rate from 4.55 to 4.25. So, but take a look at your screen here. So the question is, why? Because why are they cutting these rates now? Look in September when those rate cuts began. Because the argument is we need to get inflation under control. Well, now, as you can see, inflation has surged as a result of this. So again, look, the red line here, this is the U.S. Bloomberg Economic Inflation Data surprise number here. Look at that. It's surging. So inflation skyrocketing again, right after the rate cuts begin. So this argument that rates are, and the idea is, oh, well, these rates are too restrictive, right? They're holding people back. Okay. Well, as Zero Hedge writes this, they claim that rates are restrictive, then show them this chart. Financial conditions are at their loosest since before the Fed started hiking rates. So see the two circles there? So before they started hiking rates, right now, financial conditions were at its loosest. So we're back there. It's already loose. You don't need to keep cutting rates. I know it's good for people that are trying to get mortgages right now and so forth, but it's absolutely detrimental. And you're going to see this reflected in the data once 2025 hits. We're going to see this massive recession. They will blame Trump for it, of course, but it's the unelected Federal Reserve that needs to be ended. We have a t-shirt on our website at redactedstore.com, End the Fed, because they are an unelected cabal of globalists that are driving the United States into the toilet and totally undercutting the U.S. dollar. And the Fed, it really is created in order to print money, in order to keep us in these perpetual wars. Mm-hmm. And that's all the Fed is.
It's a financial cartel, as Ron Paul calls it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
The idea of like 15 trillion in debt is, that is such a stupidly large number. It's like nonsensical. It might as well be like $1 billion, quadrillion dollar. Like it just doesn't, It's a nonsensical number. It's so huge. Like,
how can you ever dig out of it?
What is anybody supposed to do with that? Yeah.
Right.
$50 trillion. Yeah, you're going to add 15 trillion onto it now. So we're already 36 trillion. You're just adding 15 trillion by doing this. And we're going to be at $50 trillion in debt when President Trump is president of the United States over the next year and a half. And this recession is set to hit. And of course, everyone will blame Trump. It's Trump's fault. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can end the Fed. We'll see.
Well, Newsbusters has awarded what they call the Brian Stelter Award for Worst Quote of the Year. So it's kind of like the Oscars for boneheaded things that people say on cable news. Brian Stelter is not a recipient. it's just he's the namesake because would we call him the best at saying the worst things? He's one of TV's top boneheads, we could say. I'm going to call it the bonehead.
I mean, I think Tucker used to call him the eunuch, a eunuch that works at CNN.
Okay. I don't know. So yeah, he's got this award named after him. And so the 2024 recipient, without further ado, I give you this year's winner. Drum roll, please. It's MSNBC's Joe Scarborough for saying that President Biden was intellectually and analytically the best Biden ever. Remember, he said this before the Democrats cooed President Biden and put Kamala Harris in place. He was trying to sell us this notion that Joe Biden is at his top game. Watch.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And
Okay. Yeah. Well, F me, because I cannot handle that truth.
Like 2 days later, then he went on the CNN debate and totally fell flat, and the Democrats cooed him and shoved in Kamala Harris. That's amazing.
How embarrassing that must be to watch when you've just lied like that for your own agenda. It's crazy to watch someone do that. Every time I see a clip like that, I think of, Monsters, Inc., when the little girl is in the monster world and then they present all kinds of salacious news articles or people like, I saw it right there. That's what it feels like. It's just the news will just run with any old crap. So yeah, you want to see the runners up though? Because there are 3 runners up for dumbest thing said. We're going to show you their clip of that. One of them is Sunny Hostin talking about Trump saying that there would be a financial bloodbath, and she pretended that he meant real bloodbath because she needed to for her coverage. So watch the 3 runners up and enjoy this. We're calling it the Bonehead Awards of the year. I love that it's a memorial award too.
Right.
Like he's alive.
I also was thinking about Joe Biden's legacy. He will be remembered as a great president. He will be mentioned in the same sentence as George Washington.
It scared me, honestly. I didn't think ever in my lifetime I would see that. He is using that kind of World War II rhetoric that led to the deaths of the murders of 6 million people.
Yeah.
There is an entire right-wing media ecosystem.
Yes.
It doesn't exist on the left.
Yes.
Does not exist. It does not exist in the center or mainstream. And people are getting their information in very different ways now. Whether it was disinformation, misinformation, or different propaganda that they were feeding to the American public.
Yeah, I love John King shaking his head. Yes.
All right,
yes.
this we've already seen.
Yeah, we've already seen
You've
that
seen
one,
this one. So yeah, there's no echo chamber on the left, Clayton. Not at all.
Yeah, on the right there's an echo chamber, and John King's like, yes. We here at CNN are not part of a liberal left echo chamber.
They're crazy.
At all.
We're not.
Yeah, I mean, just okay. Look at Blue Sky. All the pansies that left X and who ran over to Blue Sky, the stupid app that no one's using, right? But now liberals are over there, like we're hanging out on Blue Sky, talking amongst ourselves because we need to be in this little fragile snowflake eco chamber over here.
There is such a thing as the woke right. Have you heard this term? the woke right. It's like the right who refuses to see things that they don't want to see either. I mean, of course, there's sort of extremists on both sides, right? People who decide to put their head in the sand. That exists. There's an echo chamber to the extreme of any place. So that's why you're here on Redacted, because we're neither left nor right.
I mean, when we criticize Trump, you'll see a few people, they're like, how dare you criticize Trump? Well, we're allowed to criticize Trump. I mean, we're allowed to criticize any politicians. They're not God. So these people are human beings, and no one's perfect. We're allowed to criticize anyone. We criticize the United States of America all the time because the promise of what this country stands for is not being lived up to right now by these elected leaders in the United States. So we're critical of anyone, and we're not afraid to.